sing along to that song, but it's okay.
Yeah, just sing along. You know the words. We know you know the words.
Literally. I'm up here cooking the damn up every last one of y'all, man. Yes, 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 yes.
Doesn't take much to please
yes.
No, it does not.
Yes.
So
has on her
mind. But Tenesia looks at her. I guess the lady looks at her, and Tenesia just goes off. She just
She
went.
snubbed me.
She went off. Listen,
What we do
Tenesia.
in these pews, no pun intended, beyond these pews. Knee slapper.
Pun intended.
Yes.
Why you gotta tell them that? You can't expose that. You can't expose
That costing.
That cost
Can't
a big.
expose that. Anyway, when we do harm,
Forgive me.
of course, Terence, I forget you. That's an example
how
of
you do
forgiveness
it.
right there.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it right there.
Like
Reconcile. But
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Pew. My name is Leon Jones, and before we get started, I have some very, very special guests with me. And before I introduce them, I just want to give you a little background about why we are here today. Beyond the Pew is a spiritual platform that myself, as well as one of my guests that you'll meet today, have come up with because we feel as though God has given us this purpose and this platform to reach others that may not be here at the church and are finding their way back. So here we are today at Beyond the Pew. I got some people that I want you to meet today. So I'm going to start to my right and introduce one of our guests today. Could you let the people know who you are and a fun fact about yourself?
I am Tenesia Standifer, and what's a good fun fact about me? I just love to laugh.
I agree. I
all
agree.
do.
Love to laugh.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay. And it might not be too cute, but I think it's funny. I like to laugh at people when they trip and fall.
Ooh.
I'm guilty.
Wow. Okay.
Guilty as charged. Guilty.
All right. That's true. You do like to see people fall. Anyway, I'm Terence Standifer. You notice the same last name. There's kind of some type of relationship that we got going on.
Yeah.
We got a thing
Going
on. Listen, that's my wife. Married 39 years. Fun fact is there's moments where people don't know this about me, but I do like to be silly. I'm extremely sarcastic.
He is.
So my humor can be a little bit dark. I can be very obnoxious. So I do enjoy having
All right,
fun
now
that
keep your
way.
obnoxiousness that way. That way. I just got out the shop today, so that way. That way. Oh, it's my turn? Ah, yeah, it's your boy. It's your boy, Day, of course, creative director and co-founder of this great podcast, Beyond the Pew. Facts about myself. I'm the third child, so it's two other bells you got to go through. But I'm the youngest and a favorite on the low. But don't tell them I said that. So
I'm telling.
look at them. Church people love snitching when it ain't got nothing to do with them. That's tough, man. Snitching.
So, Mr. DayShaun,
What's up?
We are here today to talk about a very important topic. So, before I give it over to you to kind of just walk us through and take us through the dialogue and the conversation, for you, I guess I want to ask, as the creative director, when you heard the possibility or you and I came together about this idea, what was your vision, or what do you see Beyond the Pew doing from a spiritual standpoint?
Great question. First, when I proposed this opportunity to, my idea was I see a lot of people in the pews themselves during service, and they tend to hide how they feel about certain topics in these pews. And they never really get the opportunity to express themselves besides things like, board meeting or simple ministries and stuff like that. And I wanted to create a platform for them to be able to express themselves without having to, feel like, I can't say what I got to say or else I'm going to be judged or criticized for what I got to say. I wanted to provide that platform here and give people the avenue to be able to talk about that. Regardless, I see Beyond the Pew really going forward because at the end of the day, this is the first episode. And now that people are seeing where this is at and seeing that it's coming to fruition, of course, more people are going to want to get involved now. They're going to want to, express themselves. They're going to want to say what they feel and say their thoughts. They're going to want to say their opinions. And they're going to want to come on here now and say that here. Of course, it's going to be regulated, of course. But they can express themselves now. I don't want the church to be like, a place where people feel like, oh, I got to hide who I really am or I got to hide the things that I think because that is a false thing. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be expressing ourselves. We're supposed to be, disciplining each other. Speaking of discipline.
Disciplining each other.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yes. Speaking of discipline.
Awkward moment.
Speaking of discipline.
No, I'm just whirling that through my head.
Mind you, the discipline ain't bad discipline. So I say discipline, don't be thinking, yeah, everybody trying to bend me over and spank me. No.
We don't want CPS at Burns.
Of course not. Of course
we
not.
don't.
Of course not.
Yeah,
Not that
exactly.
type of discipline. All discipline ain't harmful discipline. I know we got trauma, but hey, rightful discipline. Rightful.
So when I hear discipline, I guess as we're all thinking about this, and even when DayShaun mentioned the word discipline, I could kind of see us all make this face or go back to a time in our minds or a situation where we've needed discipline or we've had to be in a position to discipline someone. And for me personally, I think about something that I was reading the other day. I want to say it was found in 2 Timothy chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken, when it talks about when Paul is in his last days and he's with his protege Timothy, telling him that when you go preach the word, you need to do this in and out of season, meaning whether it's popular to talk about Christ or not, I need you to continue to do this. But what I love about God is his instructions and his intentionality on it, because going farther down in the chapter, Paul instructs Timothy to do this and rebuke, correct, and encourage, but do this, and I love this part, where it says, with careful instruction and great patience. So a lot of times when you hear discipline, you think, as DayShaun said, severe consequences. It has a negative connection to it. But here you see in 2 Timothy chapter 4, Paul is instructing on behalf of God's instructions to, this is how I would have you to rebuke, correct, and also at the end of that encourage, but do it with great patience and careful instruction. And that instruction, we know, comes from God. So understanding that, and all of us being in our personal walks, what is something now that we know from discipline versus when we first heard discipline, how do we look at it versus now?
I just wanted to dap you up real quick. Thank you for that look, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna read my mind on that one, Playboy. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Y'all can answer.
Okay, so, all right, so let me say it this way. So every church in Christendom has some level of discipline. You have discipline for reasons, because without a church without a standard, it's just a hangout.
Yes.
God has standards, and so there is discipline. Why do I feel like we being set up? why do I feel we being set up?
You feel set
That's
up?
that trauma talking. Nobody
Look,
setting you
all I can
up.
say is been there, done that.
Yeah.
okay?
But anyway, but here's the other point that we need to recognize too. because I did a study on church discipline. Every denomination refers to, drum roll, Matthew 18. Every single denomination refers to Matthew 18. Now, 2 Timothy, Matthew 18. Because Matthew 18 describes, in that one small section, when you and your brother have aught with one another. But the problem that we have with discipline, and again, this is all churches, there is no denomination that's exempt. It's the fact that we know how to discipline, but we don't know how to help people recover. Because even in Matthew 18, Jesus goes out of his way of telling some stories that the shepherd leaves 99 and go get the lost one because he wants the lost one back.
Right.
Even with the chapter in Matthew 18 where it talks about you got out with your brother, go to him first privately, work it out, win your brother. If your brother ain't listening to you, take another witness with you, go back to your brother, try to win your brother. Okay, if your brother ain't listening to you and your witness, bring your brother before the entire church. For the entire church is trying to win the brother back. Because this is all part of the discipline, trying to win the brother back, trying to keep the brother here. If the brother refuses, it is not the church who is disciplining the brother. It is now the brother who's saying, I'm not trying to repent. I'm not trying to hear you, and you. I'm going to be who I am. Then the church simply says, because you refuse, now we ask you to leave. But what churches have done is, X sin happens, you immediately expose the person to protect the building, to protect the people. Even when the person confesses, you get rid of the brother by the discipline, but you don't do anything to try to restore them back. You leave them to themselves. And the reason why I'm saying every single church do it, because when I did the lookup, it's like this evangelical church does it, this Adventist church does it, this Methodist church does it, and the various churches have their own ways of managing it. But the thing is, God in Matthew 18 is saying, yeah, there's going to be some ought going on, and he doesn't have a disqualifier of what we can deal with and what ought that we get rid of. The point is, you're trying to restore the person that has fallen, that's in the wrong. Phase one, try to restore. If the person doesn't want to be restored, then you allow him to be to himself. And I think that's the part of the discipline that has gone awry, because we remove people to protect the building, protect people, and don't look to restore them. Where Jesus is saying in Matthew 18, I'm trying to restore that person. Why? Peter says, how many times I need to forgive my brother? 7 times 7? And Jesus says, no. 7 times 70. I'm trying to keep him here. And so this is where we struggle in the disciplinary actions of churches, because most churches know how to discipline, but don't know how to restore the person that's fallen, or they don't have something in place to do that. I'm off my soapbox.
Anybody want to chime in before I get up in there? Actually, I add something. Frankly, I believe that a lot of churches, they don't know how to discipline. They know the word discipline. Meaning this. When a lot of people hear discipline, like I'll use y'all for example. When I said discipline, you notice how everybody up in here started feeling some trauma of getting whippings on their back right now? When people hear discipline, they automatically see that as an opportunity to cause harm or express arrogance or beat that person over the back with their sins. That is my problem with church discipline. It's the method of discipline. In Galatians, I believe it's chapter 6 or it's chapter 3, one of them two. But it talks about when we discipline somebody, we don't see the discipline or the opportunity of discipline and use that as an opportunity to, express arrogance or pride or even malevolence. We don't do that. We express it through humility. We express it through understanding. We express it through things like empathy, And that gets lost because a lot of people feel that if I be empathetic with this person and I'm condoning what they're doing, you're not doing that. You're not condoning what somebody does. You're simply helping them get back on the right path. Like I say, everybody is going to fail in any denomination, really. You're going to sin in any denomination. So
Everybody played the fool, right?
exactly. Everybody play the fool.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, sometimes. Everybody
No
play
exception to the rule.
The fool. Exactly. No one.
Listen, baby. Maybe factual, maybe true,
None.
but everybody plays the fool.
Exactly.
Some of
But
y'all in y'all living room just sang along to that song, but it's okay.
Yeah, just sing along. You know the words. We
But-
know you know the words.
literally,
Okay.
when these failures happen, it's not important to really take these failures or see these failures that people commit and be like, yeah, I'm finna make them feel even worse than they already do. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of people feel bad for the failures they commit up in here.
Right.
So when we see these things, it's not like, oh yeah, I should go really drive it to them and then they'll get it and turn that message around. It's no, I need to go understand what they're going through. I need to go understand their problems. I need to go and relate to them in the best way that I can. And then if they still want to, go through that little thing, okay, respect their free will and you keep on going. Just like Terence just said, respect their free will and keep on going.
Because
Don't-
I am my brother's keeper, right?
Exactly. That is the method that's lost here. That is the one thing, is the method of discipline. And the quicker we get the method of discipline down, I'm telling you, the atmosphere will be much better in church. Because literally, you know how many people are scared to come up in here because they know they're going to get criticized by people in here? They scared. Because they know you're going to beat them over the head with their sins that they done did. They know you're going to talk about they smelling like smoke or they not dressed properly or they not looking right, da-da-da-da-da. They know you're going to drive them over the head. So it's important, always, when discipline is present, recognize that this is not the opportunity for you to express your pride, your arrogance, your foolishness, your holier-than-thou attitude. No. Help that person. Restore that person, like Terence said. Help them. Win them back. Guide them. It's baby steps out here, man. Everybody don't move at the speed that you move to, with their relationship with God. Nobody do that. Everybody moves at their own pace. So it's important to recognize everybody is moving at their own pace and adjust to that. Adjust to your help. Adjust your help to their pace. Not their pace to your help.
I think,
Help out.
and this is my last point in this as we move throughout, but for me, I don't think discipline can take place without love and grace. So for me, I've said this, I feel like God coming into 2026 has taught me, and I'm still continuing to learn, because your walk with God, I think sometimes people look at it as like sports or, like entertainment, like you reach a peak, right? Michael Jordan reached a peak. LeBron is going to reach a peak. At some point, you reach the highs of the highs. But with God, you're always learning. It doesn't matter if you've been in the church 25 years, you've been in a position 15, you're well known in the community. Like God still, even at whether you're 16 or you 67, like God is still teaching you things. And I feel as though for me personally, in my personal journey, just coming into 2026, God has really shown me what unconditional, unwavering, and kindness looks like, what love truly looks like, what grace truly looks like. Because people will tell you all day long, you got to show them grace, but when it's time to implement those things, you really see people's true colors. And I'm not going to lie, going into this year, I've had some situations where that unconditional love came up, or I read my devotional, and then soon after, you run into a situation where you want to act off impulse, but you remember what you read. And so for me, that I've been going back to dying to self daily, dying to my desires of wanting to maybe get upset with this person. And I think that's the thing that we don't talk about. Like, being upset is okay. The Bible talks about not
sure
letting the
is.
sun go down on your anger, right? Not allowing this to take hold of you. It's okay for you to be upset at Elder T, but it's all in how you deal with it. It's okay for you and I to disagree, but are you using the steps of correction, encouragement, but doing this in a careful way when I give you this instruction, or when I tell you to have great patience? We know, God knows, that there are not going to be days where it's all sunshine and rainbows. There are going to be some, but what do you rely on me? That's what God is trying to get us to do. Like, you know what you're going to do on a good day. You know what you're going to do when you get blessed. You're going to be happy. There's no need for you to complain. But on that day that your spouse makes you mad, or the mentee doesn't do what you thought they should do, how do you go about that? Are you relying on my restorative power to help you be able to show this person grace? And it's not for us to just embrace it, but it's also for us to extend that. And before you can try to model discipline, you must first learn love and grace, because the Bible talks about, if you don't know love, you don't know God. So if you can't love, then how can you truly be someone who desires to walk in the way of God and actually be disciplined yourself, or in other cases, discipline others?
So let me ask you this then. When you say love, how far or what different aspects of love are you including in that?
Expound on that a little bit, just
Like,
so I
for example,
understand.
there's different aspects of love.
Right.
Love isn't just on the surface, having affection for somebody like a lot of people would think. Love involves different aspects. Like, for example, forgiveness is a part of love. And if you do not understand the aspect of forgiveness, then you really can't understand love.
Correct.
So what other aspects inside of that love would you include in executing discipline?
Yeah, I want to hear what she has to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's what I was getting ready to say after listening to the three of you guys talking about the discipline and being patient and encouraging and trying to reconcile. We haven't brought that word up yet. God.
Get it there, Niche. Talk about it. Reconcile.
But
Let's
in
hear
order
it.
to do all that, we're talking about love. Love and forgiveness go hand in hand, just like you just said. And God said, if you can't forgive those that have done wrong against you, hurt you, I know there's a lot of church hurt here. It's not going anywhere unless you forgive that person. And I know it's hard for people to actually forgive themselves. So we have to learn how to, work with God on Lord, help me to learn how to forgive myself, first of all, because I know I messed up, okay? I messed up bad. And once I learn how to forgive myself, then it's easier for me to learn how to forgive others, because I don't need to go through life and holding on to church hurt or any other kind of hurt. And that person that did it to me may be dead and gone, but they still living rent-free right up here, because I'm holding on to this, this anger. And no, I don't want it to go down on my wrath, because if I go to sleep and don't wake up, then, But putting that cross, picking it up, and carrying it daily, and learning how to put self aside and just being obedient to the Holy Spirit, listening to Him talk to you and tell you, look, go have a conversation with that person. We're supposed to be showing love to one another. And if you're worshiping God in the way that you should be worshiping Him, then, you're in His image. And we know that God is love. And so we have to learn how to extend that love to one another, meaning, I forgive you for what you did. Yeah, you hurt me. You said some things that, made me where I ain't coming back to church. I'm done. I'm done with them folks. They not real up in there. But if you pray and you ask God to help me forgive me, then I can forgive those who have done wrong to me. And then the Lord will forgive me when I get on my knees and ask for forgiveness. I
Man, y'all up in here cooking and dapping up every last one of y'all, man. Yes, 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 yes.
Doesn't take much to please
Yes.
No,
So-
it
so-
does not.
Yes.
But here's the key thing. I think in our human flesh we struggle is that when the hurt happens, to want the relationship back.
Yeah,
Y'all cooking. I'm finna dap y'all up again, man.
you gotta want it.
You're cooking.
No, but see, because ultimately,
want it.
because ultimately, that's it. So like, we being married. I just remember one time, so I'll keep this very simple. We be all kinds of married.
Yeah.
We in car one day. I'm driving. Lady pulls up beside us. And we at the stoplight. Lady has something on her mind. I don't know what she has on her mind. She doesn't know what she has on her mind. But Tenesia looks at her. I guess the lady looks at her, and Tenesia just goes off. She just
She
went.
snubbed me.
She went off. Listen, Tenesia act as if the woman got out of her car, came to our car, and smacked her. The lady is minding her own business as far as we know. But now here is where this restorative part comes. Because all of a sudden now, I want Tenesia to respond in the way that I would have responded, was simply like, it's her life, her day, keep it moving.
Yeah.
And I say something to Tenesia in rebuke, in discipline. I didn't say it hard. Listen, I didn't say it hard, but it was a rebuke.
Hard in your terms or hard in her
No,
terms?
even in her terms. I didn't yell.
Niche, was it hard?
You don't have to yell at people. It could be the expression on your face. And not being honest and real. Nobody likes rebuke. Nobody likes rebuke, however.
So I rebuked her in the name of Jesus. I said.
It cost me. That's what happened.
No. Actually, she just said that it cost her, but it actually didn't cost her.
No, it cost him.
It cost me because this is what she said, and I went and I couldn't say anything. So, was I right in trying to correct my wife? The answer is yes. But God said to me, and I heard this within my ears after she said it. God said to me, Terence, I know Tenesia. I know what triggered her. You didn't. Let me take care of her. I got her. You just continue to model. And I think at times we need to allow people to be people. We need to give people time when there's something happened between you and somebody else. Because I want to apologize immediately. Some folk need a little bit of time before they can receive their apology. So I got to but listen though, I got to give her space because God gives us space. Because you say patience, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that patience looks like God gives us space. And the next thing I know, when I let God be God and I give her space, all of a sudden now, all this stuff changes. But the thing is too, in the correction, in the rebuke, even in the forgiveness, she's my wife, but this is Tenesia. I'm Terence. DayShaun, Leon,
Yes.
we're all different people. And so sometimes that forgiveness, that time means I need to give you space. And it's not also simply saying, my bad, I'm sorry, and we're good. No, sometimes I might need to get some explanation. I might even need to do some restorative actions on you to make sure I right-size you in order to make the relationship whole again. Because that part of restorative is making people whole. That's the blessing of the gospel. It's not that Jesus forgives the sin. He also restores us to make us whole. And a lot of times we say, I'm sorry, and we all be good. But sometimes it's a little bit more than just simply saying, I'm sorry, DayShaun, you got me. And second hand, no, you just shot me in my pinky toe. It's going to take me more than just a sorry for shooting me in my pinky toe.
I mean, I agree. I feel like accountability is a big thing when it comes to reconciling. If you just think you're going to say sorry to somebody and they're just going to dap you up and that's it, dang, you ain't taking no accountability in what you just did. You just said sorry. You're not really sorry for the act. You sorry just to be sorry. You're not really owning up to what you did. You don't recognize it. And you don't apologize for just the apology. You apologize because you recognize what you did was wrong. That's what you apologize for. And so part of the reconciling I wish we did in here is when we do harm in these pews, beyond these pews, no pun intended, beyond these pews. Knee slapper.
Pun intended.
Yes.
Why you gotta tell them that? You can't expose that. You can't expose
That costing.
That cost
Can't
big.
expose that. Anyway, when we do harm,
Forgive me.
of course, Terence, I forgive you. That's an example
how
of
you do
forgiveness
it.
right there.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it right there.
like
Reconcile. But when we do harm in these pews, beyond these pews, when we do harm beyond these pews, it's important to not just go up to that person and act like you ain't do nothing or nothing happened. Don't sweep what you did under the rug. In Matthew 5, God says, if you did harm to an enemy or an enemy did harm to you, I'm paraphrasing, make sure you make the first move. Do not wait for that enemy to make that first move, because Lord knows, lo and behold, what that enemy is going to do when they see you. They might cause you physical harm, verbal harm. They might air you out to everybody in these pews because you did them harm. Make sure you make that first move to go reconcile. Right there in Matthew 5. If you want to go read it, go read it. Go read it. Put it up. Because y'all don't read Matthew 5.
Right.
That Matthew 5, boy. All right.
Accountability. I like that word.
Yeah, I think as we're talking, I actually have this thing with a special friend of mine. We talk about daily, like, change has no due date. In other words,
Okay.
right? And
Let's copy that.
I learned this by, just like I said, God showing me things, and we talk often, and I say, change has no due date. Obviously, if you allow God to lead you, you're going to see progress at some point in your life. But I think what we have to do is always go back to ourselves. I'm a proponent of, like, when you see how far God has brought you, nobody, I don't care how successful you are, how great your family is, how much wealth you've obtained, you always have to go back to, God has brought me so far, so I don't have, and I'm, even with him bringing me to this point of success, I am still a constant work in progress, because a lot of times what people do is they grow, they get better, and they don't say it verbatim, but it's almost like they feel as though they don't need God anymore, because I am at the pinnacle, I am at the peak, so I don't have to do what I did in the honeymoon phase with God. I don't have to do what I did in my rookie season and practice. I don't have to be in my word. I don't have to show up and seek God early in the morning as David did. I don't have to do that because I got all this stuff down. I'm going to church. I got a position. I'm checking off the boxes of what a man of God or what a woman of God looks like. So I don't have to die to self daily anymore, because that was only for, in their minds and a lot of people's minds, that was only for a certain amount of time. That was boot camp. I've graduated boot camp. I don't need to do that anymore because of where I am. And I am a proponent of every day the Lord wakes us up, we need to continue to die to self daily, whether you are 15, whether you are a highly acclaimed pastor, whether you are an evangelist, whether you have a high following in your neighborhood, you continue to die to self daily. And it's something that Pastor Bell said recently that has recently stuck with me. He said the hardest part or the cost, the greatest part of the cost of following God is picking up your cross. Because daily you have to make a conscious decision with the power of God to say no to these things that it's easy to say yes to. And I was talking to a friend at work, and I'm like, man, it's scary sometimes the power that God gives us, because we could flip what Joseph said when he said, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. And we can flip it and use what God meant for good for evil, because you realize the heavy following that you have. You realize you can get in a lot of rooms. People are attracted to you and what God is doing through you. And they may not understand like how you and God understand it. So this sometimes can be your downfall. So with knowing that and realizing that we have no room to judge anybody because of where God has brought us from and how he's still keeping us today, despite the success, despite the restoration. And if more of us were more honest, I'm not saying you got to tell somebody you shot somebody across the street or you went and got a Swiss roll before sunset after church, you know.
What's wrong with that?
But I'm saying if we're more vulnerable about our stories and about what God has brought us from, and God gives us that opportunity to share that, then we should do that instead of saying, oh, with a kid, the mother who had kids out of wedlock, you don't cling close to her. You don't. But you were born out of wedlock, but you sweep that under the rug because now you got this position, or now God has restored you. No, that story and that restoration wasn't just for you. It's for you to tell somebody. When I pray with the kids for Sabbath school, my prayer is that whatever we read here today, we don't just read it like it's just a random book. We read it, we understand it, we apply it, and we share it with someone along the way.
Daddy, you forgive
I
me.
just-
Man. Lee, that's what I'm talking about, man. Keep going.
I just feel like for me, I just think if we share more of our stories and we're authentic. Authentic doesn't mean sharing all of your business, but it just means, yeah, you may see me as a pastor, but I go through as well.
Exactly.
You may see me as, well, man, Elder T, he got it all together. From a person's lens, seeing how much energy you got in church, or whatever the case may be. No, I hurt too. I go through things too. I want to give up sometimes too, but this is how I deal with it. I go to God about it. I rely. Y'all know I love me some Jonathan McReynolds music.
Me too.
So he has a song on one of his albums that's called Overrated. And
Yes.
the
Wear
song
an S
says,
on my chest.
strong is overrated. So for once, I'll just lean on you and let you do what you do, God. In other words, it's not anything wrong with wanting to be strong. But when I have a Father in heaven who can
Harris, you want to sing it for him? Go ahead.
have those, abilities to bear that weight
Yeah.
for me, I don't have to do it all on my own. I don't have to try to figure it out when I have someone who has every solution to every problem that I have. So I think more of us need to reflect on where God has brought us from, where he is taking us, and realize that change has no due date. But I want to be clear, God does not, he's a God of order and intentionality. You have people that'll hear this and say, well, I can keep continuing on in what I do. God doesn't like the sin, but his grace and his mercy, right? Where sin is, grace abounds there much more. So that doesn't mean that I abuse the grace. Paul even said, because grace is here for me, does that mean I continue in sin because now I know the knowledge of I have access to grace and mercy and unwavering love? No, that's not what that means. But you can stop beating yourself up, and you can stop using this narrative of, oh, I'm flawed, this is why I keep sinning, because God tells us that we don't have to be a slave to sin. But if we continue to do what John 15:5 says, realize that he's the vine and we're the branches, and as long as we stay connected, I become less and less connected to these things, and now I'm disconnected from those ways and those desires that don't please God because I'm connected to him, which in turn helps me to be a better person, and it helps me to see others when they're going through. When you see the drug addict, when you see the person who walks into the church high, when you see the single mother, it helps me to be able to give them grace because I know I've experienced grace. So that motivates me and that pushes me to extend it.
Amen, amen. And we should extend ourselves to those who come in and they don't look like us. You know, a lot of times we're, we sit in judgment of those who walk through that door, and some of us have been there. You know, some of us has experienced, what's out there. And so when, you've allowed God to help you in your change, you can help those. You can tell a little bit, like you say, you don't have to tell your whole life story, but you can be authentic enough to tell someone, look, I've been there, I've done that. Let me show you what God did for me. Let me show you how he helped me get out of that situation. No, I don't want to keep going through that same test over and over and over until I finally get it right. The tests are there for us to learn, but then to move on. God doesn't want to have to keep testing us on the same thing over and over, but we have to embrace those that come through the door. Again, I'll say it again, that don't look like us, that don't smell like us, that don't think like us, that don't worship like us. They're coming to learn. They're coming for a change, and there is no time limit on change. We need to embrace these folk when they come in. It doesn't matter their background. God, what did he do? He asked people, just follow me. Follow me. Come with me. And I'll show you. I'll show you who I am and why I am and who you are and why you are. So take the judgment hats off. Should be a judge-free zone, a judgment-free zone. But unfortunately, some of us just feel, well, because I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, I get to. No, you don't. You get to allow God to live through you, be that witness and that encouragement that he needs you to be for those that are coming through that door, because those doors open this church for those who are spiritually sick. Those doors are to open for those who are spiritually sick that's looking for that healing. And so we need to be a part of that healing. We need to encourage one another. And again, grace is for those who need it. Grace is for those who need it. So if I'm good, then I don't really need that grace, even though it's extended to us daily. But let's encourage one another. Let's embrace one another no matter what you look like.
I actually have a question.
Okay.
So Leon mentioned something very small in his tangent that I want to briefly touch on. So when we sin, right, there is something inside of us that tells us, oh, I failed. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Guilt.
Exactly, guilt. But sometimes that guilt doesn't always come from inside. That guilt starts from an outer place. Where do you guys think that guilt starts from in the church?
Those who throw it back up in your face. Because we talk about discipline and we talk about, how we discipline. When someone comes in and just say, for example, Girl, I haven't seen you in church in about a year. Where you been? What you doing? I know you out there messing up. You need to get back in this church. You know, we come across very harsh. Okay? And so then you make a person feel guilty for the things that they're doing out there. I think Leon brought that up earlier about, you know, we have to we just can't judge and about what somebody has done, because again, all of us are sinners saved by grace. However, let's be conscientious about the things that we say, and if it sounds like we're throwing it in that person's face, of course they're going to feel guilty. They're going to feel guilty about what they do. How long? Oh, she just mentioned I ain't been to church in a year. So now I feel guilty. I feel bad. So we do that to one another. Y'all agree?
Yeah, I think it's, and I'll say this, is what I've been talking about for months. People condemn, God convicts. So that
I like that.
that place of feeling guilt, as you were saying, that comes from a place, whether it's on yourself, experiences, because I believe that experiences shape how you interact with people. So for me, the devil plays mind tricks. He plays mind games on us and tricks, like, and condemns you. Like, yeah, I told you wasn't gonna stop smoking. You said it, or I told you wasn't gonna stop lying. I told you that you didn't really want to come to church. You didn't really want to give your life to Christ. That's condemnation. It's reminding you of all the things that you promised, that you said you weren't gonna do, but yet again, you in your mind, you failed. Now I'm a failure. And the devil is, okay, yep, feeding you that information. But what conviction does is it's that voice, as I was telling the mentees this week, that tells you, I probably shouldn't be here. I probably shouldn't say this. I probably shouldn't do this. But a lot of times we don't listen to that voice. And conviction says, I don't like what you're doing, but I'm not going to do what the devil does and keep beating you up about it. I'm going to give you a way of transformation. I'm going to give you a way of correction. I'm going to give you a way of, I'm going to have great patience with you, and I'm going to give you careful instruction, being intentional about these things on how to correct this. I don't like the sin, but that doesn't make you less of a son or a daughter because you do that. But what we can do is, I'm going to direct you to my word. I'm going to give you a mentor. I'm going to give you a woman in your life that knows what you're going through, that can relate to you. So it's not, I can get you past the these and the thous, and you can meet somebody in proximity that can be relatable to you. I'm not going to condemn you. I'm going to convict you, but that's in love, because although I don't like what you're doing, I'm giving you a solution to your problem. I don't expect you to get it overnight, but my grace is going to help you. It's sufficient, and it's going to help you throughout that. And when we understand that, and when we not only hear that, but we embrace it, we can also extend it to others as well.
So there was something going through my mind when you asked the question and hearing the two responses, and I definitely agree with both of what you all said. But I also wondered, too, where if most of my life has just been mistake after mistake after mistake, and just the noise in my head, you'll never amount to anything. You always been stupid, and all these negative thoughts in my head feed into my struggle in reaching out to a God that has not been properly modeled to me. Because a lot of times people are afraid to testify, people are afraid to be vulnerable, is because what has been modeled to them is that, one, you keep that stuff to yourself. So even your guilt is kept within. So the other piece that is that happens with us, because this used to be me, so I'm telling on myself. It's the fact that when I have fallen, I believe that God is too far, or I went too far, that even all the great stuff you just said, it's hard for me to see because within my own self, the guilt, instead of it being acting positively, acts negative towards me and say, okay, I've gone too far now. And God doesn't have anything to do with me. And that's the reason why now I'm stuck on this word where we so often instead of trying to please God, we're trying to appease him. I don't want to get on God's bad side. And so I walk this Christian walk mechanically, because if I can avoid all the bad stuff, then God will still want to be with me. And for me, I carried that for the first 40 years of this Christian journey of trying to always be on God's good side, trying to appease him, because I don't want him to leave me. And there's a lot of hurt and pain that a lot of us carry that have us to walk in these spaces that I've gone too far. Even when folk have said they're sorry, is they go out their way to show that I'm here, God, I'm for you, don't leave me, and I hope I haven't gone too far. And so a lot of that guilt that you mentioned that we carry even from the outside or from the voices that are in our head that has been plagued us for many years. And so we have a gospel that's looking to restore. But do we even trust God with ourselves in this restoration, in the reconciliation, in the healing, especially when God has allowed certain things to happen? Can we be honest with God to simply say, I'm angry with you, God. Why do you allow this thing to happen to me? and so, you know, a lot of this gets real deep if we're open and honest, but the point is, how many of us are willing to be vulnerable to say, God, I really need you?
I agree with all of y'all. And I'm so proud of y'all, man. I'm so proud of y'all. Me, I'm a little bit different. With me, I think part of the guilt comes from misunderstanding God's law a little bit. And I mean it in this way. In the early days, when people were first understanding the things that Christ said, a lot of people didn't get it. And even today, a lot of people still don't get the things that Christ said. In Matthew 5, he says, I didn't come down here to do away with the law or construe the law. I came down here to complete that law. And so a lot of people, they take the law that God gave us, the law of Moses, all that stuff in the Old Testament, and they love to use it to make people feel less than. And in doing so, people now carry that feeling that, oh, when I sin and when I do these wrong things, I'm now less than, I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be in this space. I'm not good enough to be in this building. I'm not good enough to be here. And I feel like the older generation, I don't mean to offend the older generation. No, not y'all.
I think he just tried to call you old.
Yeah, I'm not old.
See, look at
Yep.
them. Look at them.
Not
You
old.
could have just let
Nope.
it slide.
Somebody
You didn't have to.
That might have cost
I'm
him.
talking about somebody else.
Yeah,
Yes,
you are.
yes. Somebody else. Somebody
That might
else.
cost him.
Somebody else. But the
wise.
older generation, somebody else. Somebody else. Not these lovely people up here. Somebody else. Okay? I reiterate. Somebody else.
Go ahead, bro.
They finna chase me after this, man. Anyway, the older generation, they were raised on a script in their head. A script meaning, okay, so in order to get into the kingdom, I have to be this on the outside, and I have to hide all of my guilt. And when people are obviously guilty on the outside, of course, I get on them for that guilt. But as long as they don't know my guilt, I'm good. In the Bible, this reminds me of no other characters besides Pharisees. And in doing so, when we beat our guilt and beat the sins over somebody's head or use the law to make people feel less than, just like the Pharisees were doing, because look at them. They were doing things like, oh, you ain't got your prayer tassels on. Why you talking to me, boy? Boy, you ain't even clean. Get away from me. You can't be in 50 cubits of this city. Get up out of here. You can't even come up in this temple. You bred me this little spotted goat. This ain't clean. This ain't all white goat. Get up out of here. They were doing things to make the law feel like a malicious item, and it wasn't. The law was supposed to be used as a healthy medium between man and God, so that way man could connect with God still. But the Pharisees weren't using it that way, and people still treat the law that way today in this building. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like that. In Matthew 5, Jesus says, unless you do better in this life than the Pharisees do, you will not get the gates of the kingdom. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit, but yeah, that's what it say. Matthew 5. Go read it. But
I believe it.
But let's not act like Pharisees in today's times, because only acting like Pharisees obviously makes people feel less than, and it obviously keeps the seats empty. It corrupts people from the unity and coming in here and for the change like Leon asked, because change doesn't happen off the rip. And if that change doesn't happen off the rip for us, in our eyes sometimes, we feel as though, oh, dang, no, you ain't changing for real, because you ain't changing on my speed. You changing on your little fake speed, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's not do that. Let's not act like Pharisees, because those people, we know where they going. And you doing all that slamming of the gates in people's faces that you, lo and behold, don't even know that you not getting in the gates yourself doing that. So stop. Hypocrites, frauds, brood of vipers, all of y'all, stop.
Oh my goodness.
Stop.
So in the few minutes that we have, let's do this. Because we brought out some stuff some issues that we deal with as far as the struggle in forgiveness, the struggle in discipline. Mm-hmm. So I just want to focus on the gospel, the good news of the gospel. So I'm just going to read this from Isaiah 61. New Living Translation, because we don't need all the these and thous, because I want you to clearly understand what God is saying. The spirit of the sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. This ain't people who are broke, but poor in spirit. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted, to proclaim the captives will be released, and prisoners will be set free. This is not people just in jail, but spiritually in prison. He has sent me to tell those who mourn that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it, the day of God's anger against his enemies. So now, the people who've done you harm, God got your back. Yep. So now, to all who mourn in Israel, he will give a crown of beauty for your ashes, a joyous blessings instead of mourning, a festive praise instead of despair. In the righteousness, they will be like the great oaks that the Lord has planted for his own glory. God's plan for all of us is to rebuild us and to make us whole. Mm-hmm. All we need to do now, accept the free gift.
Yes.
Accept the free gift. Mm-hmm. And this is the part where I'm saying that God just not just simply says, I hear your plea, I forgive your sin, but I want you to be whole and at peace. And part of being whole and at peace is to restore. Mm-hmm. To restore you completely. Mm-hmm. To give you this free mind to love again. Mm-hmm.
Amen. This was really good. I definitely enjoyed this, and I'm super excited about what is to come. Thank you guys for joining us, and we look to talk to you next time about topics beyond the pew. Thank you.
Hope you enjoy, Playboy. Yeah.